I haven't been back on this channel in a long time. For the moment, for a while, I didn't really know what to do with this channel because I want to provide like role plays and different stuff like that, but that takes a lot of work, especially with my new current setup right now. So until I can move out and figure out a different setup, it's just gonna be like different triggers, such as my phone, for example, on the side of whispered rambled stories. And this one in particular is going to be how people can just be so stupid in the real world. This is the story of how I forked over $4 to strangers while I was doing DoorDash. And let me know if you like this, or if you like the whisper up close. I really don't know, so I'm just gonna stick with this until you guys let me know in the comments. I know a lot of you guys say you like the whispering better, but for the moment I want to stick with this because it's better for the voice. Now, of course, I could do it like this and it wouldn't matter too much because I'm not whispering loudly, which is the main culprit for why whispering can be drying for the voice. But if I keep it active, it'll prevent, at least, from drying out further and faster. Maybe to combat that, I could just drink water and keep it near me. I don't know. Basically, I am going to tell you the story. First off, nowadays, especially since my last video, I am doing DoorDash. I'm on a break because I'm waiting for my car to get fixed. Replacing an engine is one long process. I didn't expect it to be like that. Basically, I was out one night, and every time I go out for DoorDash, I get orders from all over the place. I mainly stay in my particular area that DoorDash supports, and sometimes that means you wind up in shady areas with people you don't really feel safe around. I should have seen the signs earlier, but I'm glad a previous experience prevented me from spending too much. Basically, I had an order that I had to pick up at a Wawa gas station, and there were two guys. Now, one of them did the majority of the talking. He was much more polite. The other one just stared at me like an idiot, as if he was stoned. I smelled nothing, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was still in his system from like a few hours ago, but I'm just gonna assume that he was, because he just stared at me like, do you guys realize how uncomfortable that can make someone feel? Because it just, basically, that's not the important part, but one was more polite, one was more human, and the other one was just like quiet and kept his eyes on me, almost like with their malintentions. That's all he could think about, like what I could gain from this scam, because pretty much that was what it was. The more polite one, and they were both black, by the way. The more polite one, he basically, and I'm not uncomfortable. This happened months ago. I'm just trying to think of it because I'm so tired. The more polite one pretty much set up the situation of them going around trying to raise money for like some sort of football thing. It wasn't exactly clear, but I also knew from experience that if you give if you give money to a stranger so readily, they're gonna scam you. A time before that, it wasn't in the forefront of my mind, but I knew to be careful because these were people asking for money, and you just don't do that. You just don't. The guy that I pretty much forked over $10 for said it was for gas. Next time, if someone says that, I'll just pay for it myself, or I just won't give the money. He went straight in and bought tobacco. After that, I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna give money out so readily. He said we each need a certain amount, and I was like, okay, whatever this is, I don't know what it is, but I'll give you both $1 each. And like I said, I have to process this stuff further along because I don't understand. Like, there are some things I can pick up immediately, but things I don't have the habit of understanding fully, that takes like a few minutes for it to set in and for my brain to register what was really going on in everyone's mind from the situation. So I did that when I gave them both $2, or when I gave them both $1 each. One was more polite and just like, thank you. The other one, it's almost like he looked at the dollar as I was handing it to him and then looked back up at me as if I was crazy. If that's the case, then you're right about someone being crazy. It's just not me. I know. Nonsense. And then after that, I went inside, picked up the order, to try not to let it go on for too long, the waiting of it. Try not to wait too long, because if I wait long enough, I'll get in trouble and get a violation for it taking too long, when it wouldn't have been my fault if the store was just that backed up. But I have gotten lateness violations for that before. Anyway, by the time I came out, they were pretty much gone. And then later on in the night, I pretty much got a similar situation. My head was telling, but instead he was trying to get a sandwich or something like that. That's what he said. So I walked into an alcohol store, a liquor store, because that is something, as someone over the age of 21, I am allowed to do. I'm almost 23, for crying out loud. I basically went inside, picked up the order, and then someone approached me. I was thinking to I even said it out loud because I was stressed, because no more than 2 hours previous, 2 other people tried to scam me. And I'm glad I didn't let them scam me for much. Ultimately, I was just like, I was trying to say, no, I'm good, and he was like, come on, man, it's just for a sandwich. I know a place down this way. I was so stressed out, I couldn't even behave respectfully, and that's something I struggle with. I wound up giving it to him, but I wound up walking away looking annoyed, and like I just felt like I had to, just to get him off my back. I let on in that way. I was unable to hide that because I couldn't stop, because DoorDash keeps you doing work. You can't pause orders. And you can't pause orders to go buy one for him when you have an active order, and I had an active order. There was no way I would be able to do that. Had I thought it through more instead of being stressed out, because when stuff like that happens, all I know is that I am now in an unsafe and risky situation. That's the only thing I can think about when it comes to situations like those. By the end of it, though, I did wind up giving him those $2 extra, just those two for him and him alone, unlike the single dollar that was apparently for both of them. Later on that night, after that, and I promise that was the only time, or that was the only other thing that happened that night, I felt like I did the right thing, even if I wasn't. Even if I acted rudely. Because from what I could tell, he did not go straight into that liquor store. He went across the street and started walking on the other side. I'm just glad he proved my head right. My heart was just, I don't know if it's my head or heart's saying what, but one of them just said, "Don't do it. Your experience says no. It's not a good idea." And then I think it was my head saying that, and then my heart was just like, he doesn't seem all that bad. Especially if you're able to explain what happened previous and he relates to it. Then again, you never know when someone could be faking such communication. You don't know people. You really don't. And that's usually the toughest thing for me to work with when strangers ask for money. Oi. You can ask a friend for money. That's at least more appropriate because it's something that it's someone who you know is asking. And now that I'm on that topic, before I shut this video camera off, because I want to make this ramble at least a little bit longer than 10 minutes. It's already like that, but I want to lengthen it out as much as possible so that you guys have something tangible to work with. As far as my car engine, I've had to ask a lot of people for money. Not a lot, actually just a few people for a lot of money in total. I'm trying to think. So there are two preachers that go to the church I go to. They both, and it's the Palm Springs Drive Church of Christ. I want to specify that because it's not the kind of church you'd imagine. For example, we take the singing from the heart so literally in the Bible that we only sing a cappella music. We don't do it. We know that not everything should be taken literally in the Bible, but there are traditions that we hold fast to that we take as literally and concretely as possible. Back to my point. When I'm rambling, it's truly rambling because I take detours left and right. Two preachers. One of them I called first to see if I could basically fill in some financial holes that would have prevented me from paying for the engine. He helped me out with the majority of that, and then he told me to ask someone else if he could look at the website that I found the offer on and review it. Within the limited time he was basically able to find it was legit and decent, and from my experience, that's exactly what it's been so far. They said like 7 to 10 business days, which I'd assume means just the weekdays instead of the weekends, since Their phone service and general service is closed on the weekends too. Anyway, I'll get to that in a second if you're curious to listen for it. He basically said it was a decent website for me to get such an offer at. It's just the tiniest bit over $1,000 for an engine that, if not had been used before and then given to them to sell to people like me, would have been at least $2,500. I would have forked over my entire heart, literally, to be able to pay for it. Trying to think. Basically, that one preacher, the one who's been with all of us for almost 2 decades, if not already. Not only do I know him, but he knows me, and he was willing to give me the rest of the money for the most part of what I needed. And then I called my aunt to see if she could help out financially. What she said she could do was just hand over my birthday and Christmas money together early, which is fair. So fair. Those who are already living on their own don't automatically have savings to spare that isn't used on house maintenance or repairs of some sort. Life happens, and unless you are living a life with several $100,000 coming in annually, you're not going to be able to do that. And I say several 100,000 for a reason. 2 people who have 5 figures put together, chances are that's going to add up to a little over 100,000. That's barely going to cut it in this economy. Back to my point. See, there I go again. Detours left and right. I called a few other people. They said no. And then when it came to paying for the rest, paying for someone to install the engine, I'm borrowing money from the sweetest, most perky old lady that goes to our church. And she gave me a few $100 to work with, which, yeah, I'm definitely paying her back the moment I can. And then I'm also borrowing a loan through a check from my grandfather, who apparently did the same thing when my brother and sister-in-law's car totaled itself, burned out, and they were stuck where they went for vacation until that was fixed and they figured something out. He gave them money for that, and they're paying him off. He was able to give me the rest of what not only would have been required for the car engine to get installed, but also for my own personal maintenance reasons like gas and food. Currently just food, which I'm about to get in a few hours today. Groceries. And then once I'm back on the road, enough money to at least get my car started with enough gas, because I'm almost out. I haven't been using any of it, but I'm almost out. Anyway, that's my situation with the car engine, and that's what I went through for 2 people who asked for money on the same night. Love life. Anyway, I hope you guys will enjoy this new normal for this channel until I figure out how to best incorporate it into my life, because I still watch ASMR videos even if I don't get the tingles that I used to get when I first started, because it's a sense of stimuli that calms me out, and that calms me down and mellows me out whenever I want. It's like a sense of meditation and comfort mentally, even if it's not happening through the sensation itself. I promise I'll get back to role plays and other such things, but for now, whispered rambles is what I'm going to be doing for the next few months to years. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this ramble / soft-spoken ASMR video, thumbs up, subscribe with the notifications bell on, and make sure to share this with anyone else who enjoys ASMR. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.